Well, I'm joined now by Lucy Duckworth, who is a policy advisor at the Survivors Trust. She's herself a survivor of child abuse and has advised the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse. Lucy, very good evening to you. In many ways, it has been quite an extraordinary week. Where do you think we stand on this Wednesday night? Are you exasperated by what's happened?
Yeah, I think exasperated doesn't quite come close to it. What we're finding so frustrating is that we have been here before, and this government, the previous government, they both have a blueprint for change. They had access to making sure that they got this right, and they chose to not do that. And it's very frustrating to know the huge impact that is having on survivors, not just of grooming gangs, but around the country, and the devastating impact this is having on people who just aren't getting the right support, the right accountability, and that they need to be able to recover and accept that how big a problem this is.
So ultimately, what would you like to see change here then? What needs to move this process on? As you say, we've been here before. It feels like it's been dragging on for quite a long time. What frankly now needs to happen?
We need to have a complete reset. We need to sit down with politicians who are actually going to put their words into actions and not just make very inspiring speeches that encourage everybody, but actually make sure that they deliver on those promises. We're now in October. We were talking about this in January. Just on Monday was the 3-year anniversary of the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse, their final report that has gone by unnoted, with no comment from anyone in government of any substance, and not one of those recommendations is in place. I want to know that if we're going to be spending £180 million, 7 years, speaking to 7,500 survivors, that's not going to be in complete vain. And Louise Case's report was extremely clear. Let's have another inquiry, but let's make sure that ICSA recommendations are in place first. And we are just seeing the shameful politicisation of survivors and their voices without any recognition of the impact it is having on people around the country, or any acknowledgement that 500,000 children are sexually abused in this country every year. We don't have time to delay, and we don't have time to make speeches just so that we can win votes when it is affecting people's lives and taking people's lives as well.
It is, let's be a bit frank and honest about this, one of the people who makes those speeches, but you may well feel is not potentially up to the job. Is that the minister herself? Is that Jess Phillips?
I'm not here to say what any individual should or shouldn't be doing, but what we do need to do is make sure that this is a national priority, and that, if there was any illness that was affecting this many children at such a devastating level, we would be stopping everything. We would be resetting. We would be educating the public, parents, which was indeed one of the recommendations from ICSA. I just think we really need to all, and everybody, politicians, Jess Phillips, absolutely everybody needs to be asking themselves why we aren't getting a grip on this subject. And it is so uncomfortable for us that we are changing it constantly. We're talking about it's only happening to people here, or it's only happening to people there. We're putting the emphasis on the perpetrators. We're not joining the dots that pretty much every main story this week has been about child sexual abuse or sexual violence in one form or another. And we have to really understand the impact that it's having and the huge scale we're dealing with. And we're not going to do that until we start taking it seriously in government and not just giving piecemeal responses.
But is it also fair for the government to say that actually, survivors are not a kind of blob of people who all kind of be boxed into one area? They're individuals, and that this is complicated. Lots of people have got different expectations, different experiences, different needs from this inquiry. And that means it is going to be potentially a little bit messy, and it's going to be difficult, and it's going to take a long time.
Of course it is, and it's completely complex. You can't just meet a group of survivors and say we've consulted all survivors. So we need a much more comprehensive engagement method, and that's going to need to be wider. It should be permanent. There's been lots of talk about having a permanent survivor council in government, like they do in other countries in Europe. There's been no take up on that. We need to not be just creating panels of survivors so that we can tick the box to say that we've consulted them, because we've seen this happen in the past and it doesn't work. We have an incredible expertise in academics in the specialist sexual violence sector who have this information, and they are consistently ignored and underfunded and not supported. And really is about time that we started really listening and looking at the research and the evidence that is out there, that is available for everyone to read and actually acting on it, rather than talking around the individual issues and responding to sexual violence, rather than really working out how we can prevent it.
Okay, Lucy, we really appreciate your time this evening
Thank you.
here on Sky News. Lucy Duckworth there. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks so much. Thank you.